The government is setting aside more funds to address concerns on climate change. The amount is 132 billion pesos to be used, among others, in needed infrastructure against floods, in building climate-resistant farm-to-market roads, classrooms, and in the National Greening Program. Again, the details from Freddie Abando.
Government has allocated more funds for climate change adaptation. 2016 national budget of 3.002 trillion pesos. Budget Secretary Abando bared 132 billion pesos of projects is lodged with the Department of Public Works and Highways. 72% will account for the increase in flood control protection. This will cover construction of flood control infrastructure for 18 major river basins and rivers all over the country, amounting to 59.8 billion pesos. Among the rivers listed are in Bulacan and Pampanga, Agno in Region 1 and Cagayan River in Region 2. These three major rivers overflowed their banks that led to heavy flooding in a number of provinces, forcing people to seek safer grounds and affected thousands of hectares planted to rice and corn. Abando said the flood control project is just a slice of nearly 800 billion pesos for infrastructure in the proposed 2016 national budget.
Among the significant items in the budget is the provision this time of about 5% of GDP for the further development of Philippine infrastructure. Alam mo, Ichu, when we started, the budget was the budget for infra was 165 billion pesos.
Lahat ng agencies.
All infra. Next year, it's going to hit about 770.
Wow, 165 to 700
billion.
Other projects are the National Greening Program of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, started in 2013. The target of 1.5 billion trees will be all over the country. More climate-resistant farm-to-market roads will be built by the Department of Agriculture for 10.2 billion pesos. Classrooms that could withstand strong winds of 200 to 300 kilometers per hour. In the meantime, Abando government will spend 37% of next year's budget for social protection programs, the conditional cash transfer program, and PhilHealth coverage for marginalized sectors are the key programs. The House-approved budget will be tackled by the Senate in early November upon the resumption of sessions by Congress. Abando is confident the budget will be approved before the Christmas break. It's the last budget of the Aquino administration and the first for the incoming. It's a budget that will sustain the President's 5-year development plan of inclusive growth.
About 38% of the budget devoted to social services, katulad ng CCT, which is going to get another more than 60 billion pesos worth to service about 4.3 million households.
Pero noong 2010, how much lang yun?
Nung nag-umpisa kami, 10 billion pesos and about 800,000 households. DepEd, we are moving to K-12. So we're adding 100 billion more to the budget of basic education so that we can finally, dalawa na lang tayo sa mundo ang 10-year basic education cycle. Tayo tsaka Mongolia. Hindi tayo nagtaas ng buwis maliban sa syntax. Yung syntax naman, it's essentially or principally a health measure.
How much additional?
Hindi naman tayo umuut. In fact, ang interest payments natin as a proportion of the budget has been falling at 1.25%. Next year, about 13%.
Because of
so
the credit rating.
Hindi tayo umuutang ng malaki. So saan galing yung pera?
Where?
Well, we have, significantly reduced leakages in the budget. Secondly, we are collecting taxes better.
Leakages from what?
Corruption.
For the People's Television Network, this is Freddie Abando reporting.